Well, good evening and welcome to Queer News Tonight. This is the world's first and only LGBTQ+ daily evening television news. We're broadcasting live and then we're available on demand, and we're available on all smart televisions, including Roku, Apple Television, Android TV, Amazon Fire TV, YouTube, and Facebook. It's time to queer up the news. It's Tuesday, August 1st, 2023. We're live and literally out of the closet and into the headlines. So many of your important stories we're going to tell this evening on Queer News Tonight.
This is the world's first live daily LGBTQ evening news show, literally out of the closet and into the headlines on Queer News Tonight with Al Ferguson.
I'm your anchor at Queer News Tonight, Al Ferguson, and this evening we bring you the news of and a perspective representing the LGBTQ+ community from South Florida, America, and across our planet.
This is the world's first and only unedited live LGBTQ+ evening news show. Whatever happens, unique in LGBTQ+ news, you will see it and hear it.
HOTspots Magazine Happening Out Television Network is a nonprofit 501c3 media company in the same models of PBS and NPR, but designed for the LGBTQ+ community. Our mission? Support the 10 pillars of our LGBTQ+ community. We want to inform and educate the key issues of our Black community, Latino, lesbian and queer women, trans, student youth, seniors, HIV/AIDS healthcare, business, social justice, and faith. Help us support our community.
We are part of one of the largest LGBTQ+ media companies in America, HOTspots Magazine and Happening Out Television Network.
Our magazine is celebrating 38 years of the LGBTQ+ experience, and our television news, talk, and entertainment shows support our mission to educate the LGBTQ+ and broader community.
Let's welcome John Hayden, a journalist for 28 years. He now works for several outlets, including Out South Florida, as senior reporter and community editor. Welcome, John.
In the gay agenda, South Florida, Broward House, the Construction, Cocktails, and Mocktails fundraiser on August 10th. The evening at Broward House in Fort Lauderdale starts at 5:30 p.m. and will help raise funds for Broward House's flood recovery. It's a chance for people looking to make a difference to invest in a project that creates a home and lets people know they matter. The fundraiser will feature a casual cocktail reception where attendees can meet Broward House's care guides and witness the work to be done. Broward House is a not-for-profit social services organization working for decades to provide services for the LGBTQ+ community impacted by HIV and other health concerns. Do not miss this opportunity to stand up for the community. The event is free and open to all. Find out more about the organization at browardhouse.org.
Let's welcome anchor Gregg Shapiro, an inductee into the Chicago LGBTQ Hall of Fame. Gregg is the author of 9 books. His entertainment coverage, including celebrity interviews, runs in a variety of print and online publications. Welcome, Gregg.
Thank you, and happy National Girlfriends Day, girlfriends. In the gay agenda, South Florida. NYC tour of Refrain in Light and East Coast book tour on August 16th. Come up and see me sometime. My 2023 Refrain in Light book tour takes me to DC twice, first to moderate a panel at Outright DC, August 11th to the 13th, and then again on August 22nd for a reading at Little District Books. On August 14th, I'll be in conversation with James Magruder at Bird in Hand in Baltimore, and on August 16th, I'll be sharing the stage with singer-songwriter Jim Andralis at Bureau of General Services Queer Division in New York City. You can get tickets at the websites for each venue.
We are the reporters for Queer News Tonight, and this evening we begin with the queer headlines. The LGBTQ+ community in South Florida and across America is diverse. Our community across the world is vast, and here are the bullet points of the queer news for today, Tuesday, August 1st. Let's queer up gay culture. HOTspots Magazine will be on stands Thursday as it celebrates PrideFête. The new issue of HOTspots magazine will be on stands Thursday, and it is all about celebrating the LGBTQ plus community and festivals like PrideFête, which celebrates the music, food, and spirit of the Caribbean culture in a safe space for the LGBTQ plus community and their allies. The magazine has featured amazing articles on the Caribbean LGBTQ plus culture. The article by Jamir Baptiste talks about his experience of the 2022 PrideFête launch and also talks about the things to look forward to in PrideFête 2023. Another feature by Ryan Merrick of SunServe's Mental Health. He is the intake manager, with contributions from John Marler, SunServe's Director of Communication. They both talk about the strength and resilience of the LGBTQ plus Caribbean communities. He talks about the cultural legacy and identity of the community, pride celebrations, visibility within Caribbean culture, prominent leaders, challenges, and more. You'll also hear from community leaders from across South Florida as they explain why PrideFête is important to them. Make sure you grab the new issue of HOTspots magazine when it hits stands on Thursday. Well, excited. I'm really excited this year about going to PrideFête. We're going to do a special edition of Queer News Tonight on Thursday, a PrideFête edition, where Caribbean community gets to step forward and talk about lots of issues about the Caribbean and people of color in community. And we're doing it on the most privileged, widest street in America, Welton Drive, which I think is excellent. It's a counter exclamation point of why a PrideFête is so valuable. For it takes a community like Wilton Manors to step up and say, wait, we need to increase visibility, and that's what PrideFête's going to do. And I encourage everybody to come to PrideFête. It's going to be a lot of fun.
I'm disappointed that I'm going to miss it. I will be on this book tour, so I will not be there. And I had a really good time last year, and I think I even got to meet John Hayden's dad at the PrideFête last year.
You absolutely did. My dad had the best time. He had been down here to celebrate my birthday, and we just came down to Richardson Historic Park and had a great time. My dad loves Caribbean food. The food was on point, the music was on point, the vibe from the colors to just the energy in the atmosphere. It was all really great. Jamir does a great job about promoting this and organizing this. He hit me up like a month ago, because I wrote about this in this week's Out South Florida, and he was just so excited, and that carries through. That really carries through, and so it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's going to be fun.
Well, next, let's queer up education. Iowa School District lists 374 books as banned, many of which aren't in school libraries. Hundreds of books would be banned in Urbandale schools, providing the first full scope of just how many titles could be removed from schools under a new Iowa law that forbids teaching gender identity and prohibits publications depicting sex acts. The Des Moines Register obtained a list of 374 books from the Urbandale Community School District, believes that it could violate Senate Bill 496, which, among other changes, requires teachers and administrators to review their libraries and classrooms for books that depict sex acts and prohibits buying them in the first place. The law also prohibits schools from providing instruction about gender identity or sexual orientation before 7th grade, which Urbandale officials believe includes books. Teachers in the school district of about 4,000 students northwest of Des Moines have been instructed to remove those books, which include children's pictures books, titles with LGBTQ plus themes, and classics like Ulysses, Catcher in the Rye, The Color Purple, and The Color Purple. Dina Clare, spokesperson for the Urbandale School District, said the list is meant to provide guidance to K-12 teachers about books that may violate state law. The list does not necessarily represent current books in the district system, but if a book is on the list, or if a book is present in a classroom or library collection, Claire said it must be removed. What is a sex act? I mean, I'm serious. What is a sex act? Is a kiss a sex act? Is a same-sex kiss a sex act? why are we removing picture books, coloring books? And I think the key phrase in this story is teaching about gender identity and sexual orientation. That's really what it's about. Because I have a feeling princesses kissing toads and turning them into princes or whatever it is going to be just fine. This is about the gays. This is about the LGBTQ community under the cover of a broad law that's really going to be enforced to a very narrow possibility.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. We've heard this many, many times before.
Oh, no. I'm yawning in boredom because I'm thinking about Iowa.
Well, Iowa is once again, however, living up to the Iowa acronym, which is idiots out wandering around. And what's particularly shocking about this is that in 1978, Iowa, which has long been a red state, it repealed its state law criminalizing same-sex activity in 1978. That was long before Midwestern states, including the formerly more progressive Wisconsin. So the fact that this is happening in Iowa, it's a little shocking.
You know, I keep yawning because I'm bored to tears because I'm thinking about Iowa. They banned 374 books. Why not just get it over with and ban all reading in Iowa? Because you've got cornfields, and really that's all you need in Iowa is just some cornfields, because you don't need any intellectual stimulation. And clearly the governor in Iowa, who we've reported on repeatedly, and Iowa in general, clearly that's what they're pursuing. You know, I have been to 147 countries in the world. Iowa is the least visited state that I have visited of all 50 states that I have visited. I have only been to Des Moines, and I will say that Des Moines is the most boring city of a major metropolitan city, if you call Des Moines that, of any state in America. And that is a pretty low bar, and Des Moines is the worst. I've never been to Urbandale, Iowa. I'm pretty sure I'd never want to go to Urbandale, Iowa, because they don't believe in books. I hope that there's a newspaper in Urbandale, Iowa. I'm not sure there is, but if there is a newspaper in Urbandale, Iowa, we're going to share this report, and we call the newspaper specifically out in Urbandale. Gosh, I really hope your editorial board, if the one guy that's writing the paper in Urbandale, Iowa still exists, and you're really coming out loud and clear and strong against the ridiculousness of the story that we're repeating and telling that's going on in the schools. Catcher in the Rye, Color Purple. You know, there was a very famous and the most famous book and short story that's ever been written on Iowa, and it's called Field of Dreams. I wonder if that book is going to make the list. And at the end of the day, if it does or it doesn't, I very much imagine that Iowa is going to do the only thing left to do in Iowa, which is to sit in bleachers in a cornfield that was leveled to watch an imaginary baseball game, because that's all there's left to do in Iowa.
Next, let's queer up gay culture. T.S. Madison tears into comedian Jess hilarious after anti-trans remarks.
This is what I mean when the transphobia just comes out, the audacity and just the arrogance for cis women to believe that they own periods, that they own womanhood. You don't. Okay, you don't own periods, you don't own womanhood. You experience both, and both are different for every person, but as a cis woman, it doesn't belong to you.
Trans activist and actor T.S. Madison has been feuding with fellow actor and comedian Jess Hilarious online, and it is getting very ugly between the two public figures. As reported by Rolling Stone, it all started when Jess posted an Instagram response to a video by trans TikTok creator Blessing Rose, in which she claimed that cisgender women, quote, don't own womanhood or periods, end quote. Jess took issue with the comment and posted a flaming retort. In the since-deleted video, she asked who is going to stand up for biological women. She also asked, quote, what is the difference between a trans person and someone who's been diagnosed to be mentally insane? The only difference is you don't have a straitjacket on, end quote. Catching wind of Jess's comments, Madison issued her own retort, attempting to explain why Jess and other women who share her views might be upset. Madison wrote, quote, "There are so many real women that get mistaken for being transgender women, and that's where a lot of the anger comes from," end quote. Jess then promptly responded to Madison in an Instagram post, warning her to, quote, "keep that shit over there," end quote. Thus, a war has begun, with some siding with Jess's comments and others siding with Madison. Okay, am I the only one at this table who's never heard of Jess Hilarious? And Hilarious, let me be the judge of that. The only thing hilarious about Jess is when she tries to wipe her ass with those dagger fingernails.
Oh. I'm curious. I'm curious in terms of this online debate that is going on. Besides us loving in the LGBTQ community, we're sitting down with our buckets of popcorn, watching. What do you think about Jess's observation of defending biological women, rejecting the idea of trans? Doesn't she have the right to say what she says about biological women, or doesn't she have the right?
Yes, she does have the right to say it. And everybody else has the right to flame her and unfollow her. But the thing is, online feuds like this are not new. And the fact is, everybody in this is winning. They're all getting clicks and followers, and my God, most of which is attention. You stop giving a TikToker or Instagram influencer attention, and they literally dry up and go away. It's frightening. The one thing I see in here that is like really got me was there are so many real women that get mistaken for being trans women, and that's where a lot of anger comes from. Okay, just chill. Just chill. I mean, there are some people out there who meet me and hear me talk and think I'm straight. But you know what? I don't get offended. I don't flame them on their Facebooks. You just gotta let it go, you person.
That's funny.
That's great.
You know, I'm gobsmacked on the idea that that there's any chance that they're doing this for publicity. I'm shocked here, and I'm trying to recover from the shock that you've just informed me of, because that never crossed my mind. The one thing that is distressing to me, and I defend Jess's ability to say this. If this is really how you feel, and you're not clickbaiting, okay, then this is how you feel. But if it is how you feel, I just want to point out how you cross the line that does offend everybody, including T.S. Madison. And how you offend everybody is you make the connection of going, your defense of biological women moves into the grounds of that if you are trans and not a biological woman, that you make the connection that it is mental illness and you should be in a straitjacket. You have that opinion as a TikTok influencer, which is a very valuable and important medical profession in America. But you know, the only people that would completely and utterly disagree with you is every medical professional in America. Every medical association in America has said it is completely natural in terms of the representation of trans community. It is a natural process that should not be criticized because it is an existence of the human experience. And when you make the connection that it is a mental illness that requires a straitjacket, you're indicating not attack on trans, but really how stupid you are. And then you fall into John's standard. You're just a stupid TikTok influencer. Sorry about your luck. T.S. Madison wins the argument.
Next, let's queer up business. Twitter threatens to sue nonprofit watchdog group after hate speech study. Elon Musk has called himself a free speech absolutist. But now Twitter, which sometimes goes as X, but everybody still says tweet, has threatened to sue a nonprofit known for sharply criticizing the platform for its handling of hate speech and misinformation. In a July 20 letter shared publicly, Twitter threatened to sue Center for Countering Digital Hate, accusing the group of a campaign to hurt Twitter by driving away its advertisers. The CCDH has published numerous reports about various social media companies' approach to everything from vaccine misinformation to online racism and anti-Semitism. The letter by Alex Spiro, an attorney representing Twitter owner Musk, alleged that the CCDH has made inflammatory, outrageous, and false or misleading assertions about Twitter and its operations, which he argued lack scientific rigor. Spiro wrote CCDH CEO Imran Ahmed that the article leaves no doubt that CCDH intends to harm Twitter's business by driving advertisers away from the platform. Spiro also said that the company is investigating whether it can sue nonprofit for making false descriptions of the company. CCDH tweeted Spiro's July 20 letter and called the legal threat ridiculous. Threatening lawsuits has become a favorite tactic for Musk as Twitter continues to face pressure. Last month, Twitter threatened to sue Facebook parent Meta over the launch of its competing app, Threads. Oh my God, this is really another. Well, this is just another stupid online social media platform feud. Okay, CCDH does not need to push advertisers away from Twitter or X because Elon Musk is doing that himself. Threads, which I still have to find a discernible use for, is not going to steal or is not stealing their business yet anyway.
John, I just want to interrupt. Did you just say at Twitter the band is playing on the deck right now as the ship is going down? Is that what you just told us?
Yes, and Elon Musk and his lovely attorney are busy rearranging the deck chairs while the band plays on.
Well, X marks the spot. X definitely marks the spot for the demise of Twitter as users are fleeing in droves.
Yeah.
You know, it's interesting to me. 5 years ago, I would have argued, and probably still would argue, that Elon Musk is the most important human on the planet of the 21st century. And that is because of a battery and electric car technology, self-driving technology, SpaceX, going to Mars, etc. And just in so many ways. The Tesla, in terms of machine development, is the most important machine built in the 21st century so far, at least in my opinion. However, what's happened in the last number of years, especially since the election of Donald Trump, is it's proven that you can be a billionaire and you can be the most important person on the planet in terms of intellectual development and creation and still be a stupid moron. and Elon Musk has proven that, and I don't know how you get around that. Here's the contradiction. Twitter bans Donald Trump. Twitter bans Donald Trump because Donald Trump claims all of these wild statements in Twitter, and Twitter says these are lies, and therefore you're banned. And hence, that's the creation of Truth Social. Elon Musk buys Twitter and invites Donald Trump to come back and lie, which is why he was banned from the platform that he has spent $40 billion on and now is attacking this tiny little brand that is going, this is truth, this is truth, this is truth. And he argues that they're designed to damage his advertising platform and his marketing money platform at Twitter, by simultaneously saying, I unconditionally defend the First Amendment and free speech. The contradictions are so beyond obvious, it proves that you can be the smartest man in the world and have $100 billion and be an ignoramus, which is what he has proved. One other thing that relates to this is we suffer from this exact issue. It's Happening Out, which is a talk show that has gay people sit around and talk about the topics of the day, cultural topics of the day, all expressing their own opinions in the talk show that has operated for 5 years, has now been permanently banned at Twitter. Permanently. And at Twitter, Twitter says, we have no comment on it. We've just banned you. And it's an indication that you can be a billionaire and be an idiot, expressing an opinion. Elon, please don't talk about the First Amendment, because you have to understand what the First Amendment means before you do. And you don't. Next, let's queer up trans rights. House Judiciary Committee members ignore health professionals and parrot anti-trans rhetoric. Republicans in the House of Representatives have been criticized for making anti-trans comments during a debate on gender-affirming care. New York Representative Jerrold Nadler said that the debate on July 27th had descended into a platform for politicians to bully transgender youngsters after several remarks were made opposing trans health care. Republican members of the House Judiciary Committee's Subcommittee on the Constitution and Limited Government spoke about the dangers and due process violations of gender-affirming care for children, with several calling the medical care dangerous. Their comments came despite numerous studies proving that gender-affirming care can actually improve the mental health of trans teenagers. Republicans called 4 witnesses, including a director from the right-wing evangelical group Family Research Council, who criticized gender-affirming care. Texas Representative Wesley Hunt compared gender-affirming care to a child being able to eat ice cream for every meal, claiming trans children are too young to be able to make decisions about their own bodies. He added that doctors who support gender-affirming care have absolutely lost their minds. Democrat Nadler voiced his disgust at the anti-trans remarks, which he described as bullying. Fellow Democrat Pennsylvania Congresswoman Mary Gay Scanlon added that the hearing was, quote, not about protecting children or parental rights, end quote, but instead went on to explain that it had devolved into a cynical political attack on transgender people and their families.
Let's be clear. Congress has no business interfering in parents' freedom to make decisions about appropriate medical care for their children. The idea that politicians are more qualified to judge the medical value or necessity of gender-affirming care than every major medical organization is absurd. Holding a hearing to substitute far-right ideologies for parental judgment exposes the rank hypocrisy of the party claiming to value individual freedom and small government. And so here we are before the Subcommittee on the Constitution and Limited Government. Make no mistake. Today's hearing is not about protecting children or parents' rights. It's a cynical and frankly dangerous political attack on transgender children and their families, driven not by science or facts, but by polling and political strategists determined to mobilize conservative voters through fear. So let's start by setting the record straight. Gender-affirming care is safe and effective. It is supported by every major medical association, including the American Academy of Child and Adolescent Psychiatry, the American Medical Association, and the American Academy of Pediatrics, among others, representing over 1.3 million American doctors. It's just not up for debate. The partisans who characterize gender-affirming care as radical gender ideology are just repeating right-wing talking points to delegitimize critical health care. Access to gender-affirming care is essential to the mental health and well-being of trans youth. This care is tailored to both the mental and physical health needs of patients, as well as their developmental stage in life. And the parents and guardians of these children are involved in every phase of decision-making. There's nothing radical about that. So when our Republican colleagues allege that gender-affirming care raises particular dangers or due process issues, that is fear-mongering at its worst. Picking on already vulnerable kids in order to stir up chaos that they hope to ride to success at the ballot box, no matter how deceitful or dangerous those claims are. As a mother of 3, I certainly never found myself at my children's pediatric appointments wishing for medical advice from the House Judiciary Committee. As a member of Congress, I'm appalled by the weaponization of our legislative process to inject politicians into the personal medical decisions of our constituents' lives.
How well thought out was that presentation? And you know what? That doesn't matter one iota. And you know why it doesn't? Because she's talking about science and facts. And the other side doesn't want to listen to science. It's radical and it's heresy. And they don't want to talk about facts because the narrative facts that they tell do not fit the lie that they want to sell. And why do they want to sell it? They want to sell it for power, money,
Votes.
and votes from the base. Now, come on. We know what is going on here. So there's no point in extensive argument over those facts. But here's how you challenge, is what she said true? The point of the Family Council, which is among the most radical, crazy, I hate the word, I apologize for using the word crazy, among the most radical conservative organizations in America, they are using a standard saying that children are too young to make these decisions on their health care. Well, here's the answer to that challenge. Prove it. Find a child. Find in America a child that has made decisions on their own medical health care as it relates to surgical procedure, hormone therapy, without parental consent. Find a doctor who has approved the authorization of medical care without parental consent. A doctor. You can't. They can't. They continue to say there's boxes of votes that were thrown out behind the voting booths. And so therefore that's how the election was lost. This is the strategy. And at the end of the day, they just tell the lie. One of the things that they do great, though, is they tell the lie so many times, there's a percentage of base that believes the lie. It's not true. It's not based in science. And above all else, even beyond that, it's not based in fact. And that summary presentation in front of the Government and Constitution Committee for Trans Health Care, by the way, the presentation is outstanding.
I'd like to start with the last point you made, the irony of the fact that this is they're in front of the limited government subcommittee talking about going into the doctor's office with average parents, average children, every single day. And it's not just limited to trans care, but that's what we're talking about today. This is a committee of limited government that wants to go into your doctor's office. Second of all, no child ever goes from having zero agency to being 100%. When they're 2 or 3 years old, we take them to Santa and they tell Santa what they want, and then parents know what to get them for Christmas. When they go to first grade or second grade, they get to start, when they do back to school shopping, they get to look at some of the clothes and they get to pick out what they want. If they feel they want to dress in a gender that wasn't assigned to them at birth, that's the first opportunity that they can do it. And you know what? If they decide later on that they don't want to, they can go back and get new clothes. They don't have to keep wearing them. When they go into junior high, and they want to start doing hormone therapy to repress puberty, that can all be reversed simply by stopping taking the hormone blockers. And then when you're 18, you can start going in and having surgeries done if you want, because your body is mature. So this isn't one of those things where it's like, it's just going to happen one day. This is something that is a journey for parents, teachers, and the children that they're in charge of.
Would someone just tell me what is wrong with eating ice cream for every meal anyway? And I really cannot believe that the insidious and
they say it makes you go bald.
The insidious and so tired they need a pillow Family Research Council is still spewing this hate after all these years. Gerald Nedler is right. These bullies are disgusting.
Yeah, they are. And you know, one other thing that relates to the conversation here is we are all in favor, here in Florida, we're all in favor of absolute parental rights until it gets in the way with our politics. And parents can make whatever decision. They should have the ultimate decision until we don't agree with it. And then the radical GOP and the radical evangelicals and Family Research waves it and goes, nope, parents can't decide anymore. We make the decision for your children and over your objection. It's hypocritical. It's not based in fact, and it's a lie.
Now, here's a look at what you'll see in this week's Out South Florida. This week in Out South Florida, powered by Queer News Tonight. I'm Out South Florida senior reporter John Hayden. In this week's issue, community support for a new hotel in Wilton Manors. I talked to all the major stakeholders to see where they stand. Also, Wilton Manors police officers are poorly paid. Now the city and the police union are negotiating a new contract, and union reps say the proposed salary structure would penalize the city's longest-serving officers. And we preview PrideFête, a delicious and colorful celebration of Caribbean culture. I'm John Hayden. Those stories and more in Out South Florida, on stands now and always updated online.
Next, we are proud of our special partnership with Sunshine Cathedral, the world's largest queer church here in Fort Lauderdale. Supporting that partnership, we are broadcasting from our permanent set here at Sunshine Cathedral at the Happening Out television studios. We broadcast Sunshine Cathedral's Sunday International Service at 10:30 a.m.
Well, we finished tonight's Queer News headlines with a segment we call LGBTQ plus 1 Minute News.
LGBTQ plus 1 Minute News. Let's queer up gay culture. Gays against groomers joined by Nazis to protest Wisconsin Pride. A group of armed, masked neo-Nazis waving swastika flags joined an anti-trans protest in Wisconsin arranged by the anti-trans LGB group Gays Against Groomers. Photos from the event show some of the masked men attending the event were armed with semi-automatic rifles. Gays Against Groomers has distanced itself from the group and claimed it was ambushed by the armed men. The armed men began chanting outside of the Watertown, Wisconsin Pride in the park on Sunday during a planned protest by Gays Against Groomers. The neo-Nazi group, known online as Blood Tribe, promotes hardline white supremacist views and directs its hatred towards Jews, non-whites, and the LGBTQ plus community.
LGBTQ plus 1 Minute News. Let's queer up the worldview. United Nations faces fight with member countries to protect trans rights. On March 20th, for the second time in its history, the United Nations Security Council convened an ARIA formula meeting, focusing specifically on the integration of human rights of LGBTQ plus people in conflict into the work of the Council. The session's chairperson, U.S. Ambassador to the UN, Linda Thompson-Greenfield, stressed that this was the first time that Victor Madrigal-Borlaz, the UN independent expert on sexual orientation and gender identity, had briefed the Security Council. Speaking before the meeting, Thomas Greenfield stated her desire to see momentum build towards the formal inclusion of LGBTQ+ issues on the agenda. Troubling is that the United States and United Kingdom are leading the integration of LGBTI+ issues in the work of the Security Council, while their domestic situations for queer people, especially transgender folks, are becoming increasingly fragile. Many other countries, including fellow Security Council members, have adopted anti-queer policies in nationalist discourse and as a key feature of their challenge to liberal world order.
LGBTQ+ 1 Minute News. Let's queer up South Florida and Florida. Thrill Me, the Leopold and Loeb story, the musical true crime tale, slinks into the Island City stage. A dark and thrilling musical is on the horizon of masochism and murder. Thrill Me has become a modern classic, and it is coming to the Island City stage in Wilton Manors. Thrill Me is set in Chicago, 1924, in which Richard Loeb is obsessed with crime. Nathan Leopold is obsessed with Richard. High on adrenaline, they leave a trail of arson, theft, and vandalism in their wake. But Richard wants to take a step further, a step that will test Nathan's loyalty to the limit. This musical is by Stephen Dolkinoff and is based on a true story. You can watch it from August 3rd to September 3rd. You can find out more at islandcitystage.org.
LGBTQ+ 1 Minute News. Let's queer up trans rights. Jamie Lee Curtis vows to continue to fight for the rights of her trans daughter. Oscar winner Jamie Lee Curtis doubled down on her support for trans rights and opened up about her fight to protect her daughter, Ruby Guest. Jamie Lee Curtis, 64, is well known for her unapologetic trans allyship. In the past year, she has given her Oscar statuette they/them pronouns. It comes during a time when trans rights are under attack across the U.S., with right-wing politicians such as Florida Governor Ron DeSantis targeting the community with hostile legislation and rhetoric. Appearing on MSNBC's Morning Joe on July 28th, Curtis slammed the demonization of trans people as awful and terrifying. She said that life is about love and being a parent is about love.
LGBTQ+ 1 Minute News. Let's queer up entertainment. High School Musical character Ryan Evans revealed as gay in a new clip. We bet Sharpay knew. The Wildcats are back in the halls of East High. Season 4 of Disney's High School Musical, the series, includes Taylor McKessie, Chad Danforth, Martha Cox, and the now out and proud Ryan Evans. That's right, Ryan is queer. Audiences first encountered Ryan in 2006 when Disney Channel aired Kenny Ortega's musical drama High School Musical. Ryan Evans, formerly recognized as the hat-wearing, theater-loving twin brother of Sharpay Evans, has alluded romance with composer Kelsey Nielsen, but the series never directly addresses his sexuality. But that did not stop fans from speculating. In an interview back then with Variety, Ortega said he did not feel like Disney was ready for a queer storyline. Luckily, Disney is getting queer Ryan now, ready or not. Ryan Evans was accompanied by his partner, Scott Hoying, during the visit to East High School in the clip.
That is today's news for the LGBTQ+ community on the world's first and only daily LGBTQ+ evening news show. If our community is important to you, share this news with your friends and family. Are you, like most of America, part of our very large television audience watching this live LGBTQ+ news broadcast right now on Roku, Apple TV, Android TV, and Amazon Fire TV?
Queer News Tonight is the only live LGBTQ+ digital television show in the world that is out of the closet and into the headlines. We need your support. If our community is to grow, we must tell our stories and bring them to the attention of the broader world.
This is the only place in the world that tells these types of LGBTQ+ stories in motion and sound. That is the passion of HOTspots magazine, Happening Out Television Network, and Queer News Tonight.
I'm your anchor, Al Ferguson, and on behalf of these LGBTQ+ reporters, the anchors of Queer News Tonight, including John Hayden and Gregg Shapiro, we will see you daily at 8 p.m. And to our LGBTQ+ world, we wish you good night.
Good night.
Good night.
We are Queer News Tonight, the world's first and only live daily LGBTQ+ evening news show, brought to you from Happening Out Television Network. We operate in the same model of PBS and NPR, but for the LGBTQ+ community. We educate, inform, and entertain by supporting the 10 pillars of our LGBTQ+ community, with more than 100,000 a week watching us on Roku, Apple Television, and other channels. To keep the story going, we accept donations with 100% transparency. Stay updated and live authentically with Queer News Tonight.